Hello and welcome to the Collapse Experiment. If you enjoy this video, please like and subscribe. I have been sick since Sunday. Sunday was the day that I went out snowshoeing and filmed my last two videos that you might have seen. And Monday I was bedridden. Tuesday I went to one of my jobs, in which case afterwards I parked my car in a spot where it was stuck this morning. That was fun. So I couldn't go to work. And then before I was able to get my car out this morning, after endless digging and finally using 2x4s to prop the front end up enough to get it out of the snowbank, my daughter was sent home from school for being sick. So yeah, my whole week has just been a whole foobar mess of cluster mess. And but that brings me to today's video. I watched a video earlier this morning about how Gen Z is not participating because of how smart they are. Now, if there's one thing I learned in psychology class, which there's many things I learned taking psychology, but there's one thing that stuck with me, and it was a study done on Mensa members. Now, you have to take all these tests in order to qualify. You have to have a certain IQ, in which case they are very stringent on who becomes a Mensa member and who doesn't. Now, because of the people who are able to join, that also means that they had this nice little study group of high IQ people and what effect they have on the world. Now, let's say Gen Z is equivalent to a Mensa group. Well, there's a couple issues with that. One, members of Mensa tend to have a very, very almost non-existent rate of divorce. Very interesting. It's almost like they're really super freaking picky as to like who they're going to get married to, and it has more to do with I don't know. It has more to do with maybe like who their partner is as to whether or not they're hot. Don't know. But for some reason, very, very low divorce rate. The other thing that they found was Mensa members don't tend to win a Pulitzer Prize or get any type of exclusive awards, right? Things that we think super intelligent people would be inspiring to. No. They tend to have the same job, go to the same workplace, low risk, low reward job sites, but then they tend to stay there the majority of their career. This is the exact opposite of what we're seeing with Gen Z, right? For one, they're not getting married. Two, they're not having kids. Gen Z is pretty much like a self-imposed version of the one-child policy, except these motherfuckers are not having one child. They're not having any. And we've already seen what exactly that has done to China. Because as their population gets older, there's nobody to take care of them. Part of the one-child policy was that you have your one kid, and then you sign a document with the government stating, I'm not going to have any more, and in return, the government's going to take care of me when I retire. Because it used to be the youngest child in the family, if you had 5 or 6 kids, the youngest one stays at home and takes care of mom and dad until they die. Then they go off and live their life. We don't have that anymore. Not that America did have that, but we're not having retirement plans anymore. We're not having people going into healthcare or retirement facilities as a place of employment anymore. Because let's face it, it's not an office job with a cafe down the hallway and an hour and a half long lunch break in the middle of some posh city where you get to write some stupid ass article for I think 500 words is probably a long article these days. 150, 100 word little snippet for some fucking website. Yeah, I don't know how these people fucking make it, but for some reason, they're out there. And Raymond, was it Raymond Thoughts and Ideas? Like, he's constantly finding these articles, and I'm like, how do these people have jobs? How is this a form of employment? They sit down and they just regurgitate this bullshit, and they get paid enough to live in like fucking New York City. I don't understand it. For some reason, people pay for ad sites to place ads on these articles that I don't know who the hell is reading this bullshit. But no, if there was one thing I was thinking about this morning when I was getting my car unstuck, it was that most Gen Z wouldn't have even tried. They would have been calling somebody else, probably of a different generation, to get their car unstuck for them. They would have paid money to somebody like a tow truck company to have their car pulled out of the situation that my car was in. They would rather spend money they don't have to do something that they easily could have taken care of themselves. But they tell themselves, I don't know how to do that, therefore, I'm not even going to try. And we definitely have a don't even try generation at our fingertips. They're not even trying to be in relationships. They won't try to even own a home. Because heaven forbid, if it's not in their current location, if it's not in an area where they can just walk from point A to point B, a lot of these people don't even bother getting driver's licenses. There was a guy that I work with at one of my jobs that when it got really cold outside, not even a ton of snow, it was just really cold outside, he had his mom drive him to work. This guy's in his early 20s. He's taking college classes. He has this job where I work with him. And it was too cold for him to drive to work. So he had mommy do it for him. What are we doing? I don't understand what is happening here. Is this like helicopter parenting to the extreme? There's something about Gen Z where Simone Biles, is it Biles? I don't even know. The gymnast. She got all this applause for dropping out of a competition that somebody else could have gotten the spot for. They're like, oh, she had to take care of her mental health. Bitch, why are you even competing? The whole point of things like the Olympics is not just the physical attribute of competing, but the mental stress of the competition. To overcome the mental stress. And then you get there after you took that spot from somebody else that could have been competing and gotten that spot. And then just to get there and be like, I just can't do it today. And we have all these people that are like, yay, she's so brave. No, that's the opposite of being brave. And that is the problem that we have with Gen Z right now. None of these people are brave at all. They don't even try. There's no fucking Yoda in their social dialogue. You don't even try, man. You just do it. Yeah, do or do not. There is no try. Apparently, this message never got out to them. Where you just sometimes have to suck it up and do it on your own instead of, well, I kind of sort of almost tried. Now I'm going to have somebody else do it for me. Eventually there's nobody else because you're not creating anybody else. When you go to retire, when Gen Z goes to retire, just remember, you did not create the generation that followed behind you. Nobody's going to be there to pick up your slack, to wipe your ass, to take care of you when you get old. And you did that to yourselves. That's what we're looking at here. I had somebody comment the other day about how my commentary on Gen Z was it had gross energy. First of all, I don't know who the hell uses terms like gross energy, vibes. You could have just said vibes and it would have had like the same connotation, right? Like I'm imagining this person spends their weekends eating special mushrooms and just chilling out with the earth, man. But no, this is stuff that needs to be said. Like congratulating Gen Z on giving up and saying that they're smart in doing so. No. Like, what the fuck are your dreams? What exactly is it that you want to do? Because I ask these questions of Gen Z all the time, and they're basically just a bunch of whiny goth bitches where there's really just no point, man. Like, why even bother? They're just gonna give it to somebody else, blah, blah. It's pathetic. It's totally pathetic. There's no excuse for the weak mentality of this generation. And they wonder why they're being fired from jobs in record numbers. Nobody wants to hire their asses. They follow along with this cult bullshit of putting their fucking pronouns on their resumes. They don't think for themselves. They end up getting into this loser cult mentality of there's no point in even trying. I can get somebody else to do shit for me, probably because their parents did a bunch of shit for them. I did not have that growing up, but for some reason the class behind me, and I don't know if it was like a weird cutoff point or what exactly it was, but I saw this in high school, and I remember the teachers in high school talking about this, how my class was the last one where it was like self-sufficient students. But for some reason, the class behind me, which would have been the 99 class, like if little Susie got an A- on a test, the parents were calling it an uproar because this was going to affect her GDP. She wasn't going to become one of the valedictorians. Blah 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 blah. Like we pay money for her to go to this school. There's no reason that she deserves an A-, and the teachers have to fight back and go, she got the fucking question wrong. That is who we're dealing with. And these were millennials. 99 would have been a millennial class. 98, my class, I was at the ass end of Gen X. And really, it might have been 97 because I got held back a year. First grade. I did first grade twice. I liked it so much, I had to do it again. But no, there's definitely something going on where we have a self-imposed zero-child policy where none of these people are contributing to, they don't contribute to anything. Well, why should they? Your 20s suck. That's when you're making like no money. They all graduate from college expecting to make six figures and have all these boss jobs because of bullshit that they see on fucking Instagram and Facebook. Nobody's on Facebook anymore. I'm sorry. I just dated myself. I'm not even on Facebook. But they see this bullshit on Instagram and Twitter. And I don't even know like what the fuck else is out there. But then it's like, because their life isn't panning out how the internet told them it should be, they just fucking give up and they get stuck in video games and OnlyFans. Like there was the recent news article I saw about a woman who she was going to school for like fucking physics or some shit, and then she was going to med school, and then she dropped out of med school to do OnlyFans. What are we doing here? How the fuck did we get here? We basically have a loser class generation of, let's just give up, try to take the easiest solution out of everything, including divorce. Like, even if Gen Z does get married, 100% guaranteed they're going to end up fucking divorced. Because heaven forbid you try to work on anything. I remember asking one guy, I was like, so what, you went to school for computer science. What do you want to, what did you get? Well, I want to work on video games. Okay, so what are you doing in order to like work towards getting a job in video game development? Well, nobody will hire me because I don't have any experience. Are you tinkering around with programs at home? Like, what exactly are you doing to work towards this? Well, I already went to school. I should already have that position. You do realize that the longer you have between getting your degree and applying somewhere that you might get hired in, like the bigger the gap is, the less likely you ever will get hired. Like, you do have to actually work towards something, build up your resume, get experience in something. But no, they just fucking give up. They're the give up generation. And I'm going to get a lot of comments like I did last time where it's, yeah, well, why should we even bother? Like, there's all these, and there's a big difference between following your dreams and doing the normal 9-to-5 routine job, okay? But you also have to start somewhere. You should have a 9-to-5 job. You should be working on your dream job on the side. If that's all you can get, that's what you should be doing. This shit's not hard. The one last thing that I want to bring up is, let's say Gen Z is actually smart, like Mensa or above. The correlation between high IQ and self-deletion, it's there. For some reason, the smarter a person is, the more likely they are to self-delete. Because YouTube definitely has a problem with certain words being used on here. So do we have a current generation that is just slowly self-deleting? Because that's what it appears to be. It's a generation of depression. A generation that is apparently smart enough to know that it's not worth working. But then at the same time, they also don't think ahead. And I see this at every bleeping job that I've ever had. Because a lot of my bosses, not just coworkers, but bosses. Like, I've got a Gen Z boss at one of my, don't even get me started. It's at one of my jobs, fresh out of college, all of a sudden ends up as management. Gee, wow. Where was all the other Gen Z people for that job? How did she end up with that position? Doesn't think ahead worth a shit. Most managers, regardless of generations, don't think ahead worth a shit. They solve the problem. They put a Band-Aid on the problem, right? I'll fix this by doing this. But they don't think ahead. They don't say, how can we permanently take care of this so I'm not having to deal with this again? No. They'll call somebody else, hey, take care of this. And then they never solve the fucking problem. That's all Gen Z does. They put a Band-Aid on every... They don't even bother putting a Band-Aid on shit. Sometimes they just walk away. Oh, that's not my problem. Somebody else can take care of that. No, like, Gen X is really good at cleaning shit up. I'll just let them clean it up. And then they wonder why they keep losing these jobs where they get these positions, other people are doing their work for them, they whine and bitch and complain, and then they get fired, and guess what? The company still keeps working without them. Gee, I wonder why. So I don't. Somebody asked earlier in a comment, like, how do we bridge the gap with Gen Z to like promote responsibility? And it's like that was totally up to the parents, okay? I have that fucking issue here at home. I try to instill some responsibility on these two knuckleheads. Mom just takes it away. They're too young, blah, blah, blah. They either start learning that shit now or you can't get them to do it later. Can't get them to do it now. What the fuck do you think is going to happen when they're 10, 12 years old? And you're like, hey, can you do this? And they say no. Because that's all they've ever done for the last 12 fucking years. And that is the situation we have now. An entire generation of, nope, not my responsibility. I don't feel comfortable with that. I'm so stressed out. Why do I have to be here for 8 hours? Are you fucking serious?